Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the mental health panel for Digital Wellness Day. We are here talking about the mental health crisis and how we can contribute to the solution across different domains of wellness. We are so glad you're here. My name is Amy Blankson. I am the co-founder and CEO of the Digital Wellness Institute, and I'm going to be your moderator for this event here today. We are so delighted to have you with us. We are kicking off the day with Digital Wellness Day. We've already gotten some great traction all across the globe. So we're so grateful that you tuned in to learn a little bit more about how we can be intentional and to optimize our relationship with technology for yourself and for those who are around you as well. So today we're going to be approaching this topic through a lens called digital flourishing. And for those of you who are new to this term, what this means is it refers to a mindful approach to digital technology use that supports our thriving in different areas of life. So it empowers us to really take advantage of the benefits of technology while also avoiding some of those associated harms. So today we're going to dive in. With me, I have an incredible group of panelists. I have Madlin Mangrum of Texas. Madlin is a mother, an entrepreneur, an activist. She created Unplugged Family to inspire and equip other mama bears to raise children that flourish in the digital age. I'm sure you're going to want to hear what she has to say. We also have Beth from New York, who is the founder of the Well Tech World Summit, which will be held in Brighton, UK in March 2023. The event's going to bring together global wellness and technology services and solutions for personal and community-based wellness. So you'll want to check that out as well. Beth is also an Ayurveda wellness counselor, author of a memoir entitled Reeling: Misadventures in Movie Making, Money, and Love, which chronicles her healing journey from rape and PTSD to become a survivor and a wellness professional. Amazing. And lastly, we have Laura Willis, who is based in London, but originally from Northern Ireland. Laura is one of the UK's leading experts on managing workplace wellness with mental health in the digital age. And she's a thought leader on minimizing digital overload at work and protecting work-life balance in our always-on world. Laura's personal experience with a dysfunctional relationship with her work email and increasingly disintegrating work-life balance led her to co-found Shine Offline in 2015 with the aim of helping businesses to improve their digital workplace cultures by supporting staff and leadership to have healthier, more sustainable relationships with their technology. Wow, we are in for a treat today. We have some real experts, and I am so honored to be able to moderate this group. Our intention today, and we took time to actually set our intention and do a small meditation before this session so that we could be as present as possible for you here today. And our intention really is to speak to you in ways that will help you to elevate your personal experience. But if you have questions, if you want to ask the panelists any questions, please put your questions into the Q&A box if you're logged in here with us to Zoom. If you're joining us from one of the streaming platforms, you can also put comments there as well. We'll do our very best to accommodate everyone. So to kick us off today, I want to direct our very first question to our own Madlin Mangrum about why it's so important to focus on digital wellness for the mental health of all, regardless of age. And then we're going to go section by section. We're going to start with Madlin talking about kind of home, family, and school. Then we'll turn to Beth to talk about her about advice for personal experience, and then turning to Laura for guidance in the workplace. So Madlin, kick us off. Why is it so important to focus on digital wellness for mental health?
Well, thank you, Amy, so much. I am thrilled to be here, and we need to focus on mental and digital wellness because we're immersed in technology, right? Our family and our work life, everything is immersed in screens, and our kids are feeling that the brunt of that immersion. And so we are here to say, you know what, we need to create pockets, intentional pockets of time and space in our home life, in our family life, to unplug and connect. So being home, meaning it's a place of being loved and feeling fully known. And that will take intention. And the intention is to say, you know what, we're going to create sacred spaces in our home. Let's make meal times a sacred space. Let's make our bedrooms a sacred space. And let's make family times a sacred space, so that we use the technology as tools. We teach our kids that technology is a tool for us to flourish in life, to thrive, but it's not a toy. As when they're little, it's like, this is not a toy. This is a tool for us to learn, to grow, to connect with others. So that's, to me, the bottom line at home is, let's make connection intentional. Let's have times to look at our eyes. Let's have home be a place where we all get complete rest at night, because we're not on devices, right? All the devices go to mom and dad's closet. And let's make home a wake up time loud. Let's make our homes loud, because digital anthropologists are in homes observing that everybody's home, but there's complete silence. We're not speaking enough. We're not using those words. And so that's led to kids having, again, delays in development, anxiety, depression, disconnection, living in their room, connected online, but not connected at home where they need to be loved and known. So that's the bottom line for me at home.
Said Madlin. And let's turn to you, Beth, to talk about personal self-care. Tell us why you think digital wellness is so important for mental health.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Madlin. Thanks, Laura. So happy to be here. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who is joining. So I think disconnecting, like actually spending time with our own thoughts and feelings, is what helps our self-esteem and our self-worth and our ability to be present for everyone in our lives. We are constantly on our devices. We are constantly bombarded with information, other people's families, their photos, their life, their information, their opinions, and it makes us feel less than, or we're lacking in some way. We're constantly comparing, or we're constantly questioning, not even thinking about our own opinions on things, because we're bombarded with 52,000 other people. And then we also go down like the rabbit hole of being in echo chambers of, especially with politics on social media. So I think really taking the time to spend time with yourself, think about what's important for you, think about your own feelings, is necessary for total mental health, for good mental health.
Good reminder for all of us to do that self-check-in, Beth. I really like that. Laura, take us to the workplace. Why is digital wellness so important in the workplace?
Hi, Amy. Hi, girls. Hi, everybody. Well, it doesn't take me to let everybody know that we have to be connected to do our jobs. And this isn't just about knowledge workers, people who sit at desks all day. We're doing a lot of work with the NHS at the moment here in the UK. Everybody's connected, and they have to be these days. And technology has enabled our work. It's amazing. But we're always on. And pre-pandemic, 82% of people told us that their digital was causing them stress. Now that's gone up to 86%. Technology isn't our job. It's meant to help us do our jobs and enable our work. And yet for a lot of people, it's become our jobs. 91% of people in our latest data are experiencing digital presenteeism. They feel they can never disconnect from their work technology. 99% of people have their phone on their desk when they're working. 97% have their phone on their desk, 99% have their inbox open. And what that means is that people feel that distractions from digital are impairing their work. 89% of people say that definitely it affects the quality of my work. And I'm somebody who used to be really digitally unwell at work. I couldn't stop looking at my email, both in my personal time and in my working time. My work-life balance was appalling. My attention to detail, my innovation, everything, my presence in meetings, I was all over the place. And I ended up in a really bad place mentally. I had panic disorder, I had insomnia. If you're not mentally well, it affects everything. It will affect your performance. It will affect your focus. It will affect your creativity, how you collaborate with other people. So digital is central to work, and it's not going to go anywhere. So we have got to support people to use that digital technology in the most healthy and sustainable way possible. Because our mental health is central to that, and otherwise workplace stress is just going to continue to go up, up, up.
It's such a good reminder, and certainly something I think that I personally feel and want to even acknowledge the irony of spending Digital Wellness Day in a Zoom session, where we are connecting with people right where they're at. We're trying to stay into the flow of work and find ways to speak into the lives of people when we can't gather together in person. And there's some challenges with that. There's a lot of distraction even on Zoom, and there's some real benefits where we get to see one another. I get to connect with all three of you and with everyone else who's tuning in here today in a way that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. And I think when we started this work in digital wellness, we really felt like so many of us were lone rangers. We were the only people talking about this, thinking about this in our space. And yet here we find ourselves amidst a community of people globally who really care about this and are passionate, and certainly an opportunity to have a deeper dialogue that moves us forward as opposed to just looking back. So I want to actually, before we jump into some of the negative harms of technology, which are easy to find, and social media as well, I want to talk about in what ways technology has been helpful for mental health. So Beth, I know we've talked about this a little in advance. Can you share with us a little bit about how you see technology democratizing access to mental health care?
Yeah, that is the benefit. It's really made mental health services accessible to everyone. So it's the access, because you can get it anywhere now. There are dozens upon dozens of sites, apps that offer a multitude different kinds of modalities, different kinds of therapy. And then also it's affordable. A lot of these services are on sliding scale. Some are free for the first session. The other thing is they're available on your schedule. It's when you need it, not at your appointed time. You don't have the travel issue. So in that respect, like, tech is wonderful, and it's really giving people an opportunity to deal with their mental health challenges. And then, ironically, we have more mental health challenges because we're all in lockdown during COVID. So the other thing is too, it doesn't have to be specific mental health services. It can be all kinds of modalities that just are calming and centering and really help your mental health. There's so many meditation and yoga, and Ayurveda that I work in is really about mental health and prevention, and EFT and a million other modalities. Just so much free content too. And the really nice thing is it's available in all languages, and it's culturally competent. So no one's really being left behind. And that's something really to celebrate.
Absolutely. Laura, what are you seeing in the workplace in terms of access to mental health care services, or about the ways that you're seeing technology be helpful for fostering better mental health in the workplace?
Well, I think your very point there about connection, and the pandemic exaggerated our need to be connected, but it also brought us closer together in a sense, because we are using video conferencing more than ever, and people are connecting in a way that they didn't before with colleagues, because of the hybrid model that most businesses are now moving towards as a result of the coronavirus. Obviously, mental health at work has become a massive thing, and the digitization of mental health services has been great. And we're very excited that we're actually developing an online program at the moment, because I used to spend all my time going into offices and talking to people in their workplaces, and then all of a sudden I had to do it over the computer. So now it means we're a global business. We weren't before. We were London and maybe up to Scotland and maybe across to Ireland. So that's been great for us. And we're developing this online program. So online mental health support is definitely a thing at work. For us, it's not about demonizing technology. It's about reframing our relationship with it, turning towards it, working out how can I get that to benefit me. And as Beth said, okay, I want to practice mindfulness, and I know about a really good app out there that I'm going to use. Well, how am I going to use that, and how am I going to make sure that the technology is enhancing my experience rather than adding to that overwhelm, etc. So it's definitely something that we're finding.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laura. And it is about asking some of those questions of ourselves as well, that come back to, when am I using technology? Why am I using it? Where am I using it? with whom am I using it? And when we stop to ask those questions, whether it's the workplace or the home, or it's in our own personal lives, it can really help us to give greater intention on that front. Madlin, how about for you? How do you see technology being helpful in the home? Oh, I think you're on mute. There we go.
I'm so sorry. At home, helping technology is about connection. So, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the pediatrician says, no screens for at least 2 years, except when baby is connecting with mom and dad who's traveling, right? And so for home, the helpful part is using technology to connect to relatives, to friends, and, especially during the pandemic, obviously, we had to have that connection with family. So just to have the intention, the mindset of technology at home is going to be used to enhance connection.
Absolutely. So there's kind of a litmus test there, like, is it enhancing or is it hurting? And to really pause and think about that. So we've talked about some of the benefits of technology. Let's turn a little bit to how we know when we've hit that point where technology is having a negative impact on our own mental health. Sometimes it's a little hard to figure out where that crossing over point is. So Laura, give us your advice in the workplace. How do you know? How is somebody who's an employee or an entrepreneur or anybody in the workspace, how can they recognize when they're having a negative impact on their mental health?
Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that everybody's connected all the time, and that's resulting in a sense of overwhelm and overload. And we're not robots, we're human beings, and we're meant to step away from work and we need to rest. This always on culture that we've ended up in has resulted in the overload is unbelievable. We've been, again, updating our data. 83% of staff say their digital at work is causing them overload. 78% of managers say it's causing overload as well. And if you think about, if you feel overloaded during the working day because emails are going off and instant messengers are pinging and your WhatsApp's pinging and all the rest of it, are you giving yourself a chance to step away and be present and have a rest and a break? Because 1/4 of people say they take screen-free breaks. And that means literally getting up from the desk and leaving the phone behind and not spending the break time that you might take scrolling through social media and the news or your work email while you're making a cup of tea at the kettle. Most people recognize whenever you talk to them about this, actually, yeah, if I took a few screen-free breaks in the day, that would definitely improve my well-being. Of course it would, because we're overwhelmed. So and now I can guarantee most people on this session now maybe because this is a digital wellness community, it won't be the normal, but most people are digitally distracted when they're on Zoom or Teams. The standard is in and around 83% of people admit when they're listening to me deliver a webinar that they're digitally distracted. I try not to take personal offense. So if we take a moment to just examine our own behavior. Do you walk out of work? Well, not anymore because you work from home a lot of the time, but do you switch off at the end of the working day, put your feet up and think about work because it's quite stressful, but disconnect until tomorrow? Most people don't. 63% of people say their work-life balance is worse when they work remotely. And yet there's this sense that if you're given autonomy to manage your own schedule, where you work, when you work, work-life balance is going to improve. That's a myth for a lot of people. 79% of managers send non-urgent emails out of office hours. We're always on. And if we're always on, we can't be well. So it's simply just taking a moment to think about how you spend your time. Do you feel focused? Do you feel rested? Do you feel present with loved ones? Can you enjoy your weekend without feeling the need to check in? And for most people, the reality is no, I can't. So that's why it's definitely about pausing and stopping and just considering your current habits. And the reality is they're probably having some sort of negative impact on your mental health.
So true, Laura. And I think sometimes we place tasks and deadlines ahead of our own body cues that tell us, I need to stand up for a minute. I need to go get a bite to eat. I need to take a moment to step away from screens because we prioritize those tasks as so important. It's more important than we are. But I think today's a great day to acknowledge that there's a way to have balance and do both, that it doesn't take 15 minutes. It could take 1 minute to stand up and walk around and really put a value on your mental health and your ability to be a better worker because you valued yourself. So I really, really like that. And it's a great segue into you, Beth, to talk about how we recognize in our own personal lives when we're not at work, but in our own daily life, how do we recognize when our mental health might be suffering from a relationship to technology?
Yeah, it's the FOMO again, like, the fear of missing out. As soon as you feel badly about yourself because you're looking at someone else's Instagram or someone's tweet or someone's Facebook page, that's it. It's completely negative. The moment that you feel something's lacking because of someone else's life or how someone else is presenting themselves or someone else's opinion, it's detrimental to your mental health. And also, just to in the back of what Laura said, that constant feeling of needing to be connected all the time. I have a former colleague who, I'd send them an email and they'd respond to my email in a text. And, it's like, can't you just respond to my email with an email? Like, why do I have to be on multiple devices and platforms? And that feeling of like not being able to disconnect and like, I have to be on every single platform. Is you can't keep up. It's like it just never ends. And also when you start to feel guilty that you are taking time to eat dinner or go for a run or go out with friends and not answering email, those are all signs that it's taken over your life and you need to take a step back. And it's so easy to incorporate breaks, and it's really important to realize, like, most of us don't do life or death work. Most of us do basic kind of, we need to be productive and get our stuff done, in our home lives, in our personal lives, our work lives. But most of us don't do work where if we took an hour to answer an email or even a day, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change.
It's so true. And when I'm speaking to executives about digital boundaries, most of the time when we have those conversations start, can you step away? Almost all the conversations start with, oh no, because of my unique profession, I cannot. So I've spoken to emergency room doctors who literally it is life and death, whether or not they have their device on them sometimes, or event managers or school PR representatives who feel like they have to have an ear to the ground for what's going on with public health or safety in the neighborhood. And no matter where those industries are, give me about 5 minutes and we can find a spot where you could have a boundary. Of course, all of us have to stop to sleep. It's built into our DNA. So sleep is one of those moments, but also, an emergency room doctor is not always on call. They do have time down. So when you do have that time down, then what are you doing? And if you're turning to devices when you're in your downtime as a way to recuperate, you may not be getting the full benefit of time to recuperate. So it really is, it doesn't have to be a full day or a week or a month. It could be 10 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. So whatever works for your schedule, carving that out and being really intentional about those boundaries can be a huge boost to your mental health as well. Madlin, how do you see technology having a negative impact on mental health in home and family life?
So at home, we tend to be alone together in huge chunks of time. Mm-hmm. And so that is absolutely detrimental, right? Home is a place to connect. And so we're seeing, our kids' brains from the time they're born, they grow 3 times their size from 0 to 2, and zillions of connections are happening, right? Kids are exposed to screens and tech now at 4 months, and, they're not even supposed to have them in the background. So we need to think about stewarding our kids' brains so that they achieve those milestones, so that because kids are having speech delays, kids are having what they call virtual autism, and so kids are growing up anxious, and again the tsunami, the technology tsunami, they can't handle all of that, all of those messages, all of that information. I mean, no, social media, forget it, right? So instead of building identity at home, a strong self-identity, a strong family identity, we are inviting influencers and peers to come into the parental relationship and displacing ourselves as parents and saying, these people are going to influence you as well. So we have to put tech in its proper place in home. In a lot of homes, tech is not in its proper place, and is causing disconnection, and is causing the problems of just too much. Kids are watching 5 to 9 hours of screen time a day. And so they're missing out on relationships. Like they're gaming. If they're, I started this because in my own life, I said I do 30 years ago to a gamer, and I didn't know it. So, and as in my family, I was a tech widow way back when. And my husband, brilliant as he is, he would work all day, game for hours, or game all night, and then go to work the next day. And I was in the middle of law school, so I kind of didn't notice until I got out. So my experience is a lot of spouses' experiences, tech widows or tech widowers, I guess. And the kids, again, are being left out because we're on devices, they're on devices, right? The solution, we're making devices the solution for us to get something done. And then so we hand out an iPad, or we hand out a device. Okay, play for a little bit while I get something done. Well, we're creating, therefore, a problem. And so we'll talk solutions, I guess, so I'll stop.
Well, that's a great point and lead in, Madlin. Let's go ahead and talk about what are some practical tips that you could offer for families who might be experiencing tech tantrums, or be a tech widow, or feel like they are alone in a group within their own family. What does that look like?
Right. So again, the first thing is setting that intention of family is going to be a place of connection. We're going to meet, and being the place where we have those sacred spaces. I mean, make it as, we're not going to touch the phone for the first 10 to 20 minutes after we wake up. We're going to intend to do something else, intend to connect as early as possible. And I talk about speaking those 5 love languages, intending to speak the 5 love languages in our family every day. Words of affirmation, physical touch, lots of hugs and kisses. Hug the kid 20 seconds and hold them, even if they're big, because that will release that oxytocin, right? That bonding hormone that's going to get us through the hard stuff. Because obviously setting up the times. I mean, now we have tools in technology that help us cut off the times. But number one, I would say, I always tell parents, delay introduction of screens and tech when the kids are young. The doctor told me 2 hours, no screens for 2 years. I said, okay, I'll go for 4. And so, my kid didn't see a commercial till he was 4 years old, and he would never ask for anything, right? And so I didn't know it. I said no to tech because of being a tech widow with my husband, but I didn't realize that I gave my son the opportunity to learn how to focus, to make all those neuron connections, connections in his brain that would help him be focused, to learn, to be calm. And I would say for mom and dad, it's going to pay off. The investment that you make in digital wellness at home is going to pay off dividends for the rest of their lives. Let's figure out how to put tech in its proper place, and use even entertainment, but use it intentionally. Even when we're watching something, let's all watch it. Let's not be watching the game, but everybody's on a device as well, right? Let's all be focusing on that movie. Let's pause. Let's talk about it. What did happen? Why did they do that? Why did they make that decision? Let's all be really close when you do that. Rub their hair, touch each other when you're watching the movie. Just make that intention of, I want my kid to be fully known, fully loved, and I want to make memories in here. And a lot of kids are saying in college, I don't remember high school because I was gaming 5 hours a day, right? And so, again, we don't want to develop the kid that's addicted to gaming. 1 in 11 kids will be addicted to gaming, and it will be so detrimental that they will it'll be as bad as being an alcoholic or a drug addict. So we want to avoid all those harms.
Sometimes gaming falls off the radar when we talk about digital wellness, which is a shame because it is such a huge part of how people use screen time for downtime, but there's a point where a game can turn into something that is an addiction. In fact, it's one of the DSM-5 recognized mental health disorders. It's a gaming disorder, and it's because it's become so substantial. And if you are mentally thinking only of teenage boys who are gaming, you might be missing out on the fact that there are a huge swath of young girls also gaming, as well as adults who are playing Candy Crush on their phones in their free time, or some Slither.io or something that that might be fairly innocuous. You think it's just a couple of minutes, but it certainly can become a lot more time than you ever anticipated, even as adults. So I wanted to call that out as well. We're also getting a few questions in the Q&A box, and I wanted to encourage anybody else who wants to write in. I'm going to give Beth and Laura an opportunity to chime in here as well, and then we'll turn to Q&A at the end. But if you do have questions, go ahead and be writing your questions into the Q&A box. So let's turn now to Beth. What is your advice for individuals who are looking for some practical solutions in their own lives to build digital wellness?
I think it's really important for people to recognize that self-care isn't selfish. I think it had that stigma for a long time. I think there's nothing more selfless than being the best you can be for yourself and your family and your job and everyone in your world. So self-care is paramount. And, it's incremental changes. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to map out a new plan for my life. And then, like we do every January, and then you don't stick to it by January 31st. I think it's incremental, and like, I kind of call it 60 seconds to wellness. One thing is, and Madlin kind of spoke about this, like, don't have your phone in your bedroom. Don't have your phone in the bathroom. Like, make rooms in the house where you're doing what you're supposed to do in those rooms, and you're not bringing the tech in with you. Leave it on your work desk, your home office. Leave it in the living room. Have it in one place, but don't walk from room to room with it. And then creating ritual can really be helpful. Like in the morning, meditation first thing. For some people, that's prayer. Do your workout in the morning, do some yoga, do some journaling, incorporate that into your workout, into your routine every morning. And then also have a hearty breakfast, and don't reach for your phone or your iPad. Don't sign into your email. Don't do, any posting. Don't do any of that before you've done your morning ritual and you've had your breakfast and you're set up for the day, because you've already started your day on a really healthy, positive note. And then I think you'll have a better relationship. You're less dependent, and you're not immediately on, because, we all have done it. We've all, like, the minute we've gotten up, it's like you're checking your phone, and then you're just on, and whatever you're doing for the rest of the morning is compromised.
Beautiful. I love that. And, let's get really real here as well. I'm a digital wellness expert, but each of us have our own vices that are our temptations. And for me, one of them has been, I love to read myself to sleep at night. I know the research, I wrote a book on this, and yet I still really enjoy reading myself to sleep as a way to sort of shut my brain off, or so I said. Even knowing that the blue light exposure is not wonderful for me, I still did it. And then one day my husband said to me, he's like, Amy, reading is not necessarily bad. It's really the opportunity cost that you're missing out in here. Yes, there's blue light exposure, but the opportunity cost is you're not spending time with me. And I was like, oh, right. So reading is wonderful, but that 10 minutes took away from 10 minutes with my husband before I fell asleep. And he really said, what about me? And that was a light bulb that went off for me, that every action we take is really a decision point in our day. What am I missing out on? What else could I be doing that might be more meaningful? And of course, you can drive yourself nuts with that question. But I also think that just taking that moment of pause to ask yourself, is this moving me closer to my goals and my priorities, or is it moving me further away from it? And it's such a good moment to just pause and check in with ourselves and really value self-care, like you said. All right, Laura, let's turn to you in the workplace. What are you seeing organizations do that really helps to foster better mental health for employees?
Well, it's encouraging individuals to look at their own digital habits at work and try and work out, where am I causing myself this overwhelm and overload during the working day, and then also in my personal time, because I literally can't turn and disconnect from work. But it's also looking at collective behavior, because we don't exist in digital bubbles. And if Johnny is sending emails at 9:30 every night and CCing in 7 of his colleagues, then that is contributing to creating a digital culture at work of being always on. So we've definitely got to get people in their teams to talk about their collective behavior and those micro cultures that are happening. And it's about small, simple changes. The thing I love about digital wellbeing, one of the things I love about it, is if you make one change, it can have so many different positive impacts. So take the rituals that Beth talked about there, and also the bedroom thing, no phones in the bedroom that Madlin mentioned. If you start to not use your phone as your alarm clock, you won't be one of those 58% of people who check their work email in bed. So already you're starting to look at improving your work-life balance, but you're also improving your sleep and your relationship and modeling really positive habits to your kids or whatever else. So there's definitely ritual around whenever you're home-based, thinking about when you're on and when you're off. And when we open our technology, that signals the start of our working day. And if you're opening your email on your phone just before you get into the shower or before you have your breakfast, that's starting your working day. And is that actually the right thing to do to set yourself up mentally? As Beth said, no, we need ritual. So I'm going to sit down with intent at my desk after I've had my breakfast and open my laptop, and that's going to signal the start of my working day. And I mightn't even go in and open my inbox first thing, because I've got that report that I've been putting off. So I'm going to do that for half an hour first before I allow myself to go into distraction mode by opening up my inbox on my instant messenger. And then at the end of the working day, I'm physically going to shut the thing off. I'm going to close it down, because most people don't do that. And if you don't shut it off, then the temptation, the pull, there's so much psychology behind this, the pull to checking, create those barriers for yourself, put those boundaries in place, shut it off and lock it in a cupboard. And during the working day, again, you know, if you're the sort of person who's got inbox open all day and you're responding to emails whenever they come in within 2 or 3 minutes, you're setting an expectation with those people that are communicating with you that that's how you act. So we need to start to communicate about the fact that we feel overloaded, we feel overwhelmed, we can't get our work done to the best ability, and we're going to start to adjust our digital behavior by maybe working offline or pausing our inbox or closing our inbox or using do not disturb on instant messenger. So it's about thinking about, how can I get this? Just because our technology can make us constantly contactable doesn't mean we should be constantly contactable, because we've all got jobs to do that require us to engage our minds. And if we don't allow ourselves to focus and concentrate, we will get overloaded and overwhelmed. So understanding that the tech can be shut off for 20 minutes to complete that report. Nothing's going to happen. Let people know my phone is still beside me for that 20 minutes. I'm using DND, but your number's in there so that you can call me if you really need. If the wall falls down, you can still call me, but I'm able to engage my mind and not get overloaded. The great thing with all of this is that businesses are taking this stuff really seriously now. And the pandemic, Amy, you've seen this, the pandemic has accelerated the move towards this, because workplace stress was a massive problem. And with the pandemic, people really needed help because it was crisis mode. And what we're finding is we're working at senior leadership level now, getting managers to look at, not at what can I do to help my people? Never mind that. What do you need to do for yourself? Because it starts with you. If you're sending emails at 9 o'clock at night, you're massively contributing to that culture. So getting senior leaderships to look at their own behavior, start to question why they're existing the way they are, because it's driven by fear and stress, and start to make adjustments for themselves, and then role model that to their people, that encourage dialogue with their people about it. And we're finding that this is just becoming, the businesses, we're really busy and we've never been busier. And it's great because businesses that have their eye on the future know this tech isn't going anywhere. My people are overloaded and I need to support them to get that sense of balance back. So we're in a really, really good place at the moment.
Love that. And for anyone who wants to connect with Laura and Beth and Madlin about what they're teaching on, what they're doing with their companies, their website, the digitalwellnessday.com website has bios for all of our panelists, and we can connect you there. But I wanted to add a follow-up question here that I see from Barbara in the Q&A, and we only have about 5 minutes, so I'll do my best to get to as many questions as we can. But I think this question is a follow-up for you, Laura. How does one know when a healthy tech balance and high levels of productivity and efficiency in the workplace have been achieved? So we do all of these things. How do we know when we've arrived or when it goes well?
Well, I've got a couple of lovely examples. I had a woman who had attended a kickoff workshop, and she came back a month later and she said she was ahead of a team, but she didn't have external clients. She was like head of brand or head of marketing or something. And she said, for the first time that I can remember, last week, I actually went offline on my email for 3 hours. And I emailed my team to let them know that I had this thing I had to complete and I really needed to focus, but that they could phone me if they needed me. She said, I went offline and I got the piece of work completed, and it was amazing. It would have taken me about 3 weeks if I hadn't have done that. She said, I felt guilty the whole time, but I then went back into my inbox and nobody had needed me. And I thought, happy days. It's through the living it and through the doing it that you start to feel the benefit. I had another person say that they'd managed to flip their mindset from being, if they'd gone offline on email and then they'd opened their inbox again, say 30 minutes later, and they'd had maybe 25 messages, they would have thought to themselves, 25 things I've missed. And they'd managed to turn it around to being 25 things that could have interrupted me. And again, it's about stopping and slowing down and taking time to think about your behavior and reflect at the end of the day. How's it been? Have I felt overloaded and overwhelmed? Actually, not as much. It's quite subtle, but it builds. And anybody who starts to make these small adjustments, you can really feel it for yourself. Just simply a feeling of not feeling so all of the time.
Wow, a light bulb just went off for me. Thank you so much for that mental switch. I really like that. This next question, there's actually 2 questions I'm going to put together here for you, Madlin, coming from Barathi and from, I believe it's Paul as well. So Barathi says that schools have almost everything on screens these days. Being a high school parent, I see students and teachers being handicapped without tech, even for an hour in their educational hours. And I'm going to combine that with Paul's question, where he wanted to know, are there guidelines out there for different age levels of the amount of screen time that you'd recommend, knowing that, of course, high school and schools that have screen time online are a different place than a toddler. What's your guidance on that?
So the American Academy of Pediatrics has a screen time plan. Also, you can look up fairplay.org. So there's several websites where you can get guidance on ages and how long. But I would say my number one advice is delay. If you have kids 5 and under, I mean, you can do without it. I mean, as they get older, of course, it's a little harder. And about screen school kids, oh my goodness, research has shown that screen school kids are not doing better than other kids. So, and you guys know that Google, executives in Silicon Valley are paying, $50,000 to send their kids to schools that don't have any tech until the kid is about 11 or 12. Why? Because they know the tech will always be there. The kids will always pick it up. And they know that their kids need to learn how to learn, and they need to learn how to think, and they need to learn how to just connect, how to engage with people, right? So I would say parents need to revolt on the screen schooled, handing out of the iPads. I had a parent tell me, oh yeah, somebody showed them how to go around the restrictions, and my son had access to, horrible things online. So parents, you guys have to advocate and stand up and, look at options. Homeschooling is an option. You have zillions of options now in education. So I would say, to really, really tend to that and speak to the principals and say, what can we do to lessen the modes of communication with the kids, right? To kind of narrow what they're going to do, how they're going to communicate, and that not everything has to be online. So I would say, again, delay as much as possible. And as they get older, make it limited, make it intentional. Make it so that they know this is a tool to thrive. This is entertainment is not the goal. We have put entertainment is such a massive, part of life. And it's like, no, we think about, I always tell parents, think about graduation, and you're going to make that collage or that video with all the events, all the milestones in your kids' lives. So have that in mind, and have in mind what you want to see, what your goal is with your child, and then back up and say, okay, how do we use technology or not use technology to make that happen?
Thank you so much, Madlin, and for all the panelists. I know we're unfortunately out of time. We didn't get to all the questions, but I really appreciate it, and just wanted to close out from a comment from Kai Herscher, who said, "Thank you so much for your personal experiences and small but mighty shifts. So refreshing, helpful to hear your struggles and steps to positively transform this slippery slope of digital wellness. It gives us all hope to be a personal change agent for ourselves, our families, and our communities." I couldn't put it better, and just really want to call out and say thank you to each one of you for sharing your wisdom. I wish I could bottle up all of your guidance and keep it with us at all times. For those of you who are going to be tuning into the rest of Digital Wellness Day, we'll have other panels taking place later today. So keep checking in if you want to hear on other topics. And we encourage you to stay in touch with us by exploring our resource links in the chat and other digital wellness resources that you can find on digitalwellnessday.com, along with the recording of this event if you wanted to share with anyone who couldn't be here with it today. So everyone, truly, you have the ability to be a change agent towards a positive digital culture. We look forward to supporting you on your journey, and we hope you have a really amazing, happy Digital Wellness Day. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.